know it's late. I work early, so I'm not gonna be on here too long. I just got to do a breakdown with Mike. Uh, Give me 1 second to make sure that everything is going good. I'm not gonna be on here too long. I just got to do a breakdown with Mike. Uh, 1 second. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is y'all know that my view full preterist that all things have been fulfilled. Okay. Y'all know we go into scriptures and say the scriptures mean exactly what they say. But what I mean by full preterist XL edition is because I take full preterist as the original Hebraic doctrine. Because they're just, we're just saying what Christ said. So by default, it'll be Hebrew in origin. So if it is Hebrew in origin, that means that other Hebrew literature should also go right along with the preterist view, or something is wrong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the book of Enoch, and I'm going to show and demonstrate how Enoch itself shares the same view as full preterists. So, for people who want to talk about whatever that French guy name is, like some, who knows, who cares, was Enoch French? I don't think so. Was the people in the 1st century BC French? Those Israelites? I don't think so. So, this is documents that's thousands of years old that predates Louis the Althazar or whatever that guy's name is. I really don't care. So let's see what Enoch has to say. All right. So let's go there. And this is, in fact, my PDF that I created. So let's go straight and let's start it. This is the animal apocalypse that's found in Enoch, I believe, chapter 85. I have a book of Enoch here on me as well. But I want to walk through it. Let's just walk through it and let's see what Enoch taught. So once again, we said, full preterists say that all things was fulfilled in the 1st century. All things was thought and all things was taught to be fulfilled in the 1st century. So let's just see what Enoch taught. This is thousands of years old. Okay. After all, Enoch 85. After all this, I had another dream. Now I will show the whole dream to you, Benai. So Enoch, that's Enoch, raised himself up and told Methuselah, now I will speak to you, Benai. Listen to my words. Turn your ear to the dream vision of your father. So now it's a dream and it's a vision. Okay, it's a dream vision. All right. Before I took your mother Etna, I saw a vision while in my bed. Hene, a bull came out of the land. So Genesis 2 and 7, I have Adam. So I don't think that I'm going to be able to keep going back and forward just to show this. But Genesis 2 and 7. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and a man became a living soul. So, you're just setting the tone. Where this is starting off at. So a bull came out of the land, Genesis 2 and 7, Adam. And you can go back later and look through these scriptures. And that bull was white. Book of Adam and Eve 8 and 2. So you can go to the book of Adam and Eve, look up verses 8 and 2. Once again, I use all Hebraic literature. Okay? All Hebraic literature says that Christ, that the end time the judgment day was going to be in the same generation of Christ, which was first century, which is the same thing that preterists say. So all of these books that they call the Gentiles said it was non-canonical. I'm going to say that this is Hebraic literature. So you can determine if it's canonical or not, but this is an idea that the Hebrews had thousands of years ago. So now let's go. And the bull was white, a heifer, Genesis 2:22. Eve came out after it, and along with the heifer came two bulls, one black, which was Cain, and the other red, which is Abel. So you got Genesis 4:1 and 2, Cain and Abel. So the one was black and the other one was red. So let's keep going. The black gored the red and chased him across the grounds until I could see the red no longer. So you got the black, which was Cain, gored the red, which was Abel, and chased him across the grounds until I could see the red no longer. So first of all, let me show y'all something real fast. Hold on. Because this is needed to know. Let's see if I can find it right here. Sorry, y'all. Alright, so we got this information here. Let me show y'all something real fast. Let's look at a red bull. Let's see what a red bull looks like. Red bull. Images. I guess I should put the animal red bull. Okay, so this is a red bull right here, y'all. You see how it's a shade of brown. You see? This is how they determined colors in the antiquity. So, a red bull itself is actually a lighter shade of brown. So he is seeing a lighter shade of brown bull, and then let's see a black bull. A black bull, okay? So he's seeing different shades of melanin. All right, I just wanted to throw that out there. These are different shades of melanin. So the first people, according to Enoch's vision, his dream, they were white, which some of the old Jewish literature says that Adam was actually red like clay, like the purest dirt, red clay. But here they got white, and then you see red, and then you see black. So now, let's keep going. Okay, so the red no longer. And then you have Joshua 1:25, the book of Adam and Eve, chapter whatever that is, in verse 12. But the black bull grew, and the heifer followed him. Then I saw lots of cattle coming out of him. Genesis 4:16 through 23. So now it says, but the black bull grew. So this will be Cain, and the heifer followed him. So who will be the heifer? The heifer would be Eve. Okay. So you got, let me make sure. Yep. You got Eve and Cain. So coming out, so we got Genesis 4:16 through 23. They all looked like him and followed him. So they all looked like him. They all was black like him and followed him. That first heifer left to find and search for the red. So that first heifer was Eve, and she went to search for Abel, but did not find him. She cried out for him with a great howl while continuing to search. And you find this in the second book of Adam and Eve, chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. Once again, I did my homework when I created this PDF. It took me months in order to put all of this together, close to a year. So now, 7. I watched until the first bull came to her to calm her down, which was Adam. From then on, she did not cry anymore. So you got the second book of Adam and Eve, chapter 1, verse 9. After that, she bore another white bull, which was Seth. Then after him, she bore many bulls and black cattle. So she was creating white and black uh, uh, beings, it say. So I don't know if it's saying white as in Caucasian or white as in purity or white as in no, not melanin, but it's saying white here. So we can't take the white from it. So now let's go to Genesis 4:25 and 5 and 4. Genesis 5 and 4. Let's see what this is. Let's go to Genesis 5 and 4. I want to keep up with this real fast. So Genesis 5 and 4. And after the days of Adam, after he had begotten himself, were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. So now, let's go back, because now we have the different children of Adam and Eve. Hold on, let me find it. Okay. And this is also in Jubilees 4 and 11. I saw in my sleep that the white bull likewise grew up and became a great white bull. From him proceeded a lot of white bulls, which to me this would be pure, the purity. So this is Seth's children. They all look like him, and they all begat many more white bulls. They all looked alike, one following the other, and many. Just Jubilees 4:12 through 14. So first Enoch 86 now. Again, I saw something with my eyes as I slept. I saw the skies above in Enoch. A star fell from the skies. The star got up and began to pasture and eat with the cattle. So now you are being introduced to another type of being or deity in this animal apocalypse. In the beginning, it was all animals, so now we have a different type of object coming, which was a star. So the star got up and began to pasture and eat with the cattle. You see this in the book of Adam and Eve, chapter whatever that is, verse 6. After that, I saw very big black cattle, Hena. They all changed their stalls and pasture lands, the young crying among themselves. You see this in Jasher 2:2. Again, I saw in the visions by looking skyward and Hena. I saw many stars fall, casting themselves down from the skies to that first star. They became as bulls. See now, you see these stars, right? They were stars. And what happened to the stars? They became as bulls amongst those young cattle and pastured among them. So you see this in Jubilees 2:20 or 4:22, the book of Adam and Eve, 11 verse 4. I looked at them and saw them in Hena. They all let out their members, just like horses. So you got the testament of Reuben 5:5-7. They began to cover the female cattle. So their members was their male parts, okay? And their male parts were like horses, which shows you that they did not have the same type of male parts as the cattle. They had a different male part, and they were different beings. They began to cover the female cattle with which all became expectant. Genesis 6:2. They bore elephants, camels, and asses. So you got Jubilees 5:1, 7:21, and 22. And I'm asking you all, when you have time, go inside these books and read exactly what it says. But we have Genesis 6:2, Genesis 6:4. Genesis 6:2, 6:4. The sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. and they took them wives of all which they chose. These were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were old, men of renown. So now, let's see here. It says Jubilees 5:1, 7:21 and 22. I gotta pull this to show y'all. So let me try to find it real fast, because I want to show y'all how on point Enoch was with this other Hebrew literature. So let's look at the book. Let's see if I can find my book of Jubilees real fast. Jubilees. Let me just see if I can find it real fast. Okay, that's Jasher. It's around here somewhere. Is it under the book of Jubilees? Hold on, y'all. Work with me. Let me try to find the book of Jubilees. I didn't have it ready, but it's something in there that I wanted to show y'all. I guess it's going, instead of going through this, I can actually, even though I have a book of Jubilees though, this stuff gets on my book of Jasher. It really gets to me because I'll be knowing I'll be having this stuff. H-I-J. Well, push come to shove, I'm just gonna try to find it online real fast. So if it's not in this one, I'm gonna try to find it online. All right, no time to keep looking for it and pausing. I have it in there. I just don't. I guess I don't have it under the book of Jubilees. It's probably some other crazy name. So now let me just find Jubilees online. All right, here we go right here. Book of Jubilees, PDF. Does it not have the chapters? Yeah, it does. I'll save it real fast because I should have had it anyway. Under the Book of Jubilees. So Jubilees 5:1. I don't know what type of Jubilee this is. Sorry, y'all. I don't know what that was. Maybe this one will look a little bit better. And if not, I'll just keep going. Let's see. Chapter 3. Yeah, this one is better. I'm going to download this one too. Oh, see, I already got that. Book of Jubilees. You see, it got a 1 beside it, so I already have it, so I don't know why it didn't show up. All right, so Book of Jubilees 5 and 1. Hopefully, y'all can all see this. Y'all cannot see it, so now y'all can see it. All right, the Book of Jubilees 5 and 1. This is what it says. It says, "And it happened when the sons of the children of man commenced to increase over the face of the whole earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the angels of the Lord saw them in 1 year of this Jubilee, that they were beautiful to look upon, and they took unto themselves wives from all them, whomever they chose, and they bore them sons, and these were giants. So now let's see, 7 and 21 and 22. Go to chapter 7. All right, verses 21 and 22. Here you go right here. And yet my sons I will see, behold, there the man over the face of the earth. Now that's when they destroyed, that's not exactly what I was looking for. Well, I'm gonna keep this ball rolling. But what I was actually looking for was, it said they bore elephants, camels, and asses, which in reality it was Nephilim, some elephant, and something elephant. I can't remember the names of them, but it was 3 different type of giants that was said to be in this land. And it might have been in actual Enoch that listed all 3 of those different type of giants, but I'm not going to go over it right now. But it's just, you see how Enoch laid out 3 different type of animals this kind of big? Well, in one of these works, it had 3 different type of giants. But anyway, let me keep going because I can't stay with this. But you see how this story is being played out in the book of Jubilees in Genesis. So now, all the cattle were afraid and very anxious about them, for they began to bite with their teeth and to gulp down and to gore with their horns. And we actually was going to see that in this book of Jubilees right here that I just skipped over. It says, and yet my sons, for I see, and behold, the Satans have commenced to lead astray you and your children. And now I fear on your behalf that after my death ye will spill the blood of men over the face of the earth, that ye too will be destroyed from its face. For everyone that sheds the blood of any man, and everyone that eats the blood of any flesh shall be destroyed from the earth. But let's see here, Jubilees 7, 23 and 24. And there shall not be left any man who eats blood and who sheds blood upon the earth. And there shall not be left alone for him any seed or children under heaven, for they will go into Sheol. See, back now it's showing you that they understood what Sheol was, even from the days before the flood. They had an understanding of what Sheol, and they had an understanding that the souls were to go into Sheol, and into the place of judgment they will descend in the darkness of the deep. They will all be cast by a terrible death. With regard to all blood over you, which is in all the days that you sacrifice an animal or a beast or whatever flies over the earth, and do a good deed concerning your souls, and your covering of that which have been spilt over the face of the earth. So now it was letting it be known that the sacrificial system was going to be enacted even before the flood. But we see that that mankind was creating all of this. Hold on, is this right here? Yep, here you go right here, y'all. What I was trying to tell y'all. Now I should make a note in it. I wish I could make a note right here, but I can't. You see, it says they bore elephants, camels, and asses. Well, y'all can't see it because I'm on other screen, but let's see right here. It says, for on account these 3 things the deluge came over the earth, namely on account of fornication, in which the watchmen indulged against the commandments of their law with the daughters of men, and took themselves wives from all whom they chose, and made the beginning of uncleanness. And look, and they begat sons, the Nephilim, and they were all unlike, and they devoured one another. The giant slew the Nephil, and the Nephil slew Eljo, and Eljo the children of men. So you have Nephilim, Nephil, and Eljo. So you have the Nephilim that devour one another. The giant slew. So the giant, the Nephilim, will be the giants, and they slew the Nephil. And the Nephil slew the Eljo, and the Eljo slew the children of men, and publicly practiced every unrighteousness and shed much blood, and the earth was filled with unrighteousness. And after all these, the animals and the beasts and the birds and whatever walks and moves on the earth, and much blood was spilled on the earth, and all the thoughts and deeds of men were wicked in all of the days. You see why the Most High had to bring the flood according to the understanding of the Hebrews. So now, let's go back. So this shows you that Enoch, they had these records of Jubilees. They had the records of Jasher. So they was using this. You know how we use the Bible? How we use the prophets and the law? Well, y'all, there was more Hebraic literature out there besides the prophets, besides the law. This is showing you how they went off of each other. But anyway, so we have the elephants, camels, and asses, okay? And we have the cattle were afraid and very anxious about them, for they begin to bite with their teeth and gulp down and to gore with their horns. They begin to swallow up those cattle and Hannah, and all the young ones of the earth begin to tremble and shake before them and run away from them. Jasher 4:17. So now you see what is going on in the earth. It's a lot of destruction, right? The giants are destroying each other and they're destroying mankind. So now, first Enoch 87. Again, I saw how they gored and swallowed each other down. Then the earth began to cry out. Genesis 6 and 12. I raised up my eyes again to the skies, and I saw something in the vision. Hannah. Out of the skies came beings like white men. 4 left that place, and 3 went with them. So I got Revelation 5 and 6. Let's see what Revelation 5 and 6 says. Once again, I did this a long time ago. So let's see what Revelation 5 and 6 says. Revelation 5 and 6. Revelation 5 verse 6. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. So now let's go back to Enoch. And it says, I raised my eyes again to the skies, and I saw something in the vision. Out of the skies came beings like white men. 4 left that place, and 3 went up with them. So I guess I have the 4 dealing with the 4 creatures. I think that's what I was doing. But anyway, these were heavenly beings. These were angels. And once you look at how angels look, they always look like a light. They look like pure light. They look like lightning. So these would be white men, how they look like lightning. Those 3 that came last grabbed me by my hand and took me up away from the families of the earth. They raised me up on a high place and showed me a tower rising high above the earth. All the hills were down lower. Hebrews 11 and 5. Let me see. See why I put Hebrews 11 and 5 there. Hebrews 11 and 5. By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because God has translated him. For before his translation, he had this testimony that he pleased God. So we just read how he was translated in the vision. So it says, they grabbed him by his hand and took him up away from the families of the earth. This is him being translated. They raised me up on a high place and showed me a tower rising high above the earth. All the hills were down lower. One of them said to me, stay here until you see all that happens to those elephants, camels, and asses, also to the stars and the cattle, all of them. So this is all of them was supposed to, Enoch was going to see what happened to all of them. So now, first Enoch 88. I saw one of the first four beings. He sees the first star that had fallen from the skies. He bound it up hand and foot, then cast it into a pit. Now this pit was deep and narrow. It was dark and horrible. Revelation 9 and 11. One of the beings drew a sword and gave it to the elephants, camels, and asses. They started to strike one another, and the whole earth shook on account of them. So now, do you think the whole earth shaking, was that literal? No. It just explains the fierceness of what was going on and how surprised, how it took them by surprise, the carnage that was happening. So now, while as I was watching in the vision, Hannah, one of those four who had come out cast stones from the skies. They rounded up all the great stars, those whose members were like horses' members, and took them, binding them hand and foot, in order to throw them in an abyss. 2 Peter 2 and 4. 2 Peter 2 and 4. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved into judgment. So this is what's going on in Enoch. Enoch was written before 2 Peter. Once again, Enoch was written before 2 Peter. So 2 Peter was alluding to Enoch. But now, and it's also found in Jubilees 5 and 6. So now we got 1 Enoch 89. One of the four went to that white bull, which was Noah, and gave him secret orders, yet without scaring him. He was born a bull, but became a man. He built himself a great ship and lived on it. So this is Genesis 6:16, Joshua 6:15, Jubilees 5:22. We know this is talking about the ark. Now look, 3 bulls stayed with him in that ship: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So now we have Noah being a white bull. Once you go into the book of Enoch, let me see if I can find it real fast. Let's see if I can find it real fast about Noah. It's a section, and I have the book of Enoch right here on me also. It's a section about Noah in the book of Enoch. Let's see if I can find it real fast. It's about how Noah was born and he freaked out Methuselah. But I can't find it right now. If we want to do a deep study on that, I can later. But in the book of Enoch, it talked about Noah's birth. And it said when Noah was born, it scared Methuselah. Methuselah ran and called on Enoch. And Enoch told Methuselah that Noah represented something new that was supposed to occur in the earth. Noah also helped lift up the curse that was, the curse of the ground. But anyway, something new was supposed to come through Noah. And the way they described Noah was white as snow. he was white as snow. His eyes lit up the room, and Methuselah thought that he was a descendant of an angel. So first of all, that lets you know that angels are white without melanin. So he thought he was a descendant of an angel. That's why the bull came out white. So it reminds me of an albino. If anything, I would think that this would be an albino. Let's just look up real fast. My niece is albino, but let's see. So you can take your pick. This is all. Let's see if we can find it. Let's see if we can see it. I'm sorry. Right here. These are all albino people. So you can take your pick. I think they're saying that Noah came out albino. So he was going to be a new thing on the earth. So we have that. Now, 3 bulls stay with him in that ship. Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now let's listen to some of the things it said. And they were all covered over. Again, I raised my eyes toward the skies and saw a high roof with 7 waterways on it. And the white water flooded down with the rest of the water into a reservoir. Genesis 7:17. Again, I saw something. Look, fountains opened up on the surface of the great reservoir, and water rose and swelled on the surface. I watched that ship until its shell was completely covered with water. Jubilees 5:24. The water and the darkness and the mist multiplied upon it, and I looked at the hill of the water. I saw it had risen higher than the ship. It was streaming over it as though it was situated on land. All the cattle in their reservoir was rounded up until I saw them sink, swallowed up, perishing in the water. I'm pretty sure we all know what that was. But the ship floated in the water, while all the cattle, elephants, and camels and asses sank to the bottom with the rest of the creatures, until I could see them no longer. Seeing them no longer means they were dead, for they could not escape. They all perished, sinking into the depths. Genesis 7:21. Again, I watched the vision until the white water torrents were pouring from of the sky-high roof, while the land rifts were leveling things up and other pits came open. The water began to run down into the abyss until the land again became visible. The ship settled on the ground, the darkness vanished, and light appeared. Genesis 8:13. Now listen to this. And I got a little archaeological evidence too. The white bull who had became a man came out of the ship. This will be Noah. Noah became a man. He wasn't no longer a beast. He did not have beast mind. He did not have a mind of a brute. He had the mind of a man. He had intelligence. But now let's see. And the 3 bulls came with him. Now let's look at the 3 bulls. One of those 3 bulls was white. This would be Japheth. He came out looking like his father, Noah, who was white. So now, one of them was white, which will be Japheth, just like the bull. One of them was red as blood. This would be Shem. Shem came out red as blood. So now, let's just look at some blood, okay? Okay. Hopefully y'all are getting the point. So once you start killing things, the blood come out a little dark first before it lightens up, correct? Blood comes out a little dark first before it lightens up. So Shem would be rich in melanin. He will be melanated. He will be more like this right here, y'all. Y'all see how this actually looks? It'd be more like red, which would be what, dark. I don't think you can get a shade of brown, but once, they were used to killing animals and sacrificing this and etc. So they will be talking about how the blood looks when it came out. So who on earth looks like this? Now, I don't know if you're going to get the Arab from this, the Arabian man. I don't think so. I don't think you're going to be able to get the Caucasian man from this either. Now, you saying, well, you can't get the black man from it either. Well, once blood came out, blood is pretty dark. It'll be like a dark, rich red before the oxygen hit it, and etc. And it turned light. You see it right here. This is a perfect example right here. So, Shem came out red. He didn't come out looking like an olive oil. He didn't come out olive color. He came out red. And then Ham came out black. Ham came out black. So this is one of the, the archaeological evidence that they had. So this would be Japhet. I'm thinking that this is Japhet. This is Shem. And this is Ham. Once again, I'm thinking this is Japhet, Shem, Ham, but I think I'm incorrect. This might be Japhet. This is Shem, and this is Ham. Yeah, because it look like these guys have on fringes. It look like they have little fringes on, but I don't think that would have mattered because they didn't get the. This is like Egyptian stuff, and they didn't get the laws of fringes until they was out of Egypt. So I don't know. But as you can tell, this is Ham. I think I had it right. I think this would be Japhet right here, and this would be Shem, and this would be Ham. But like I said, I don't know personally. That's what it looks like to me. But we all know that this is Ham, okay? And we know that Shem would have came out white, and Shem would have came out red. So which one of these would be red to you, and which one of these would be white to you? I think this would be more of a Shem, and this is more of a Japhet. But let's keep going. Then verse 9. Those who were left began to bring out wildlife and birds. You see the imagery? Wildlife and birds. So that there arose different kinds like lions, tigers, wolves, dogs, hyenas, wild hogs, foxes, squirrels, swine, falcons, vultures, kites, eagles, and crows. So let's just look at Genesis 9:18 through 19 real fast. Let's look at Genesis 9:18 and 19 real fast. Genesis 9:18 and 19. And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japhet, and Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the three sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. Okay, so then you have the descendants of each one of them. So each one of them, you have, it goes through the genealogy of all of them. So this is what Enoch is talking about. Enoch is talking about them being fruitful and multiplying. All right, so now, among them, a white bull, Abram, was born. Genesis 11:27, Joshua 7:51. Again, they began to bite one another. The white bull, Abram, born among them, engendered a wild ass, and they know that Ishmael was supposed to be a wild man, and with it a white bull, which was Isaac, and wild asses multiplied. You got Jasher 7:34, Jubilees 17:4-6. But the bull born from him begat a black wild boar and a white sheep. So you have the wild ass was Ishmael, and the white bull was Isaac. Now that bull begat a black wild boar. A black Esau was described as a black wild boar. A black, not red white man or none of that, but a black wild boar, and a white sheep. Jacob, that was Jacob, and the former engendered many hogs. So Esau had many hogs, while the sheep generated 12 sheep, which is the 12 patriarchs, the 12 tribes, the 12 sons. So we have the sheep creating the 12 sons, the 12 patriarchs. When the 12 sheep had grown, they gave one, Joseph, of themselves up to the asses. So now you know who the asses are. The asses are the Midianites, which was the son of Ishmael. Jasher 42:19. Then the asses gave the sheep over to the wolves. So you know who the wolves are. The wolves will be the Egyptians. So the sheep grew up among wolves, Egyptians. Genesis 39:1. So you can have some context clues on what some of these animals were. Their leader brought the 11 sheep to live with that one sheep to pasture with it among the wolves. And they all multiplied to become many sheep herds. That's Genesis 46, Exodus 1-7, Jubilees 46:1. This is when Israel actually went in under Joseph and etc. And they lived in Egypt. So now, hold on 1 second. Hold on, hold on. Give me 1 second. All right. Thank you, Mr. Bell. Thank you, Mr. Bell. So now, let me keep going. So now, if their leader, we got that. The wolves, which were Egyptians, began to fear them. So they oppressed the sheep. So we know when this occurred in the scriptures. Destroying their little ones by casting them into a very wide river. So y'all know when this occurred. So we got Jubilees 46:11, 47:2-3, Exodus 1:22. The sheep began to cry aloud for their little ones, complaining to their shepherd. Who was their shepherd? The Most High. So the sheep began to cry aloud. One sheep, Moses, that had been rescued from the wolves, ran away, escaping to the place of wild asses. Jubilee 48:1. Then I saw all the sheep, how they wailed. You see all of this crying going on? Wailed and lamented. Now what does it say in Revelation? In the new heavens and earth, it's going to be no more crying, no more tears. You see what's going on? You see, this is the crying and tears because how they are being treated. Okay, so now, this is not because somebody hurt their pinky toe. It's how they are being treated. So now, how they sought their shepherd with all their might until the sheep master descended from the heights at the sheep's voice, came to them and pastured them. Exodus 3, 7, and 8. So let's see if we can find it. Exodus 3, 7 and 8. Exodus 3, 7 and 8. And the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people, which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrow. And I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of the land unto a good land and a large. So once again, look though, it says, and I am come down. Now, did the Most High really literally come down? Okay. Or was it his presence, his judgment? Okay, let's think about it now. And I am come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of the land into a good land, and a large, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, and to the place of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. So now, all these ites. Let's get back to it. He called on the sheep, Moses, that had escaped the wolves, and spoke with it concerning the wolves, that it shall give a warning to them not to touch the sheep. Joshua 79:25. So the sheep went to the wolves in accordance with the command of their shepherd. Do you see how Enoch is going through the whole story? He's going through the whole story. Let's keep going, though. That's why I like these books that they call non-canonical, which the prophets and the disciples actually knew and read themselves. Once again, this is Preterist extra large right here. Preterist XL. The Hebrew Israelite version of Preterist when we keep it Hebrew. So let's keep it Hebraic literature. Like I said, we don't all have the same points to talk about because I go into more Hebrew literature. So while people want to be stuck with the 66 books, which does bring salvation, it does do all of the things that it needs to do, but the Most High allowed these people to create other literature also. So that other literature that the Most High allowed them to create, I go into that also. All things are important. So now, so the sheep went to the wolves in accordance with the command of their shepherd. And another sheep, which is Aaron, met that sheep and went with it. Once again, y'all, this stuff wasn't given out in the open. I had to go inside the Bible and find this. I had to go into scriptures. I had to go into Jasher. I had to go into Jubilees. I had to go into the book of Adam and Eve. I put in the work personally in order to decode this animal apocalypse. But now let's keep going. And the two went together to enter into the assembly of wolves, Exodus 4:27. They spoke with them, warning them not to touch the sheep from then on, Exodus 5:3. You see how I went through each book of the Bible also? But let's keep going. I saw the wolves and how they oppressed the sheep greatly with all their power. And the sheep cried aloud. Joshua 79:52-57, Exodus 5:18-19. Their shepherd came to the sheep, which began to strike at the wolves. Now the wolves were howling, disquieted the sheep, and afterward stopped their crying. So the crying stopped when judgment started coming upon Egypt. Joshua 82. I saw the sheep until they left the wolves. The wolves' eyes were blinded. Still, the wolf left in hot pursuit of the sheep with all their might. Joshua 81:21, Exodus 14:9. So now y'all might be like, hey, why you keep saying Joshua, but he's not really ever actually pulling Joshua? So to stop that confusion, and we don't want nobody to use that as an excuse. I'm always just go ahead and see if I can just open up Joshua real fast. Just to show y'all. Let's open up the book of Joshua too. So what is this I'm looking for? Hold on 1 second. Jasher 81:21. Okay, so let's go to Jasher 81:21 real fast. Jasher 81:21. And the Lord strengthened the hearts of all the Egyptians to pursue the Israelites, for the Lord desired to overthrow the Egyptians in the Red Sea. So now let's go back to Enoch. So this is the hot pursuit of the sheep with all their might. The sheep master, Lord, went with them as their leader, and all his sheep followed him. And his face was dazzling and glorious and terrible to see. Exodus 13:21 and 22. Still, those wolves pursued the sheep until they reached the great sea. So now, this is what Enoch said. He said his face was dazzling and glorious and terrible to see. So let's see what the Exodus 13:21 and 22 say. Let's see what the Exodus 13:21 and 22 says. And the Lord went before them by day in the pillar of a cloud and led them the way, and by night in the pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. He took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of the fire by night from before the people. So Enoch saw what resembled the Most High, but in reality, what the Israelites saw actually was a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire. So Enoch saw in the vision the spirit behind the pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire. So once again, the people on the earthly realm saw a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire. But Enoch, in the spiritual realm, seeing this vision, actually saw the Most High. But I ain't saying he saw him face to face, but what he saw his glory. So I want y'all to know the things that's going on in the natural realm, we don't see what it looks like in the spiritual realm. So it might look totally different in the spiritual realm what's going on, but in the natural realm, we only can see what our natural eyes permit us to see. So now, it says his face was dazzling and glorious. So he said that he saw a face that was dazzling and glorious and terrible to see. But in Exodus, they saw a pillar of clouds and of fire. So there we go. Verse 23. This sea was torn in two, and water stood up on this side and that, right before their faces, and their shepherd led them, putting himself between them and the wolves. Jasher 81:37 and 38, Exodus 14:19 through 20. I'm just going to go to Jasher 81:37 through 38 real fast. And Moses did so, and he lifted up his rod upon the sea and divided it. And the waters of the sea were divided into 12 parts. And the children of Israel passed through on foot with shoes, as man would pass through a prepared road. Look, it was 12 parts it was divided into. Ain't that, man? Significance of 12. But now, 24, since the wolves did not yet see the sheep, they advanced into the middle of that sea. And the wolves followed the sheep, chasing after them right into the water. Exodus 14:23. When they saw the sheep master, they turned to run away from his face. But the sea gathered itself up and became just as it had been created, rising and swelling until it enclosed the wolves. So now, what do we have here? We have, first of all, it said that they saw his face, which is not recorded inside of Scripture. So once again, they saw something, but in the spiritual realm, it was his face, and which made them turn around. But I also want you to realize that In the beginning, the Most High destroyed the wicked with water. Again, the Most High destroys the wicked with water. First of all, it was a flood that encompassed all of them. Now it was just a flood that destroyed those specific wicked people. In the beginning, those flood destroyed all wicked men, but here it just destroyed those specific wicked men. It didn't destroy all wicked men, just that specific wicked man from Egypt. Okay, so now verse 26, I watched until all who pursued the sheep were drowned and thus perished. But the sheep escaped the sea for a desert. There was no water or grass. They began to open their eyes to see. Exodus 14:29, Exodus 15:22. I saw the sheep master pasturing them, giving them water and grass. And a certain sheep, Moses, came forward to lead them. So once again, what do sheep eat? Grass. What do it drink? Water. So he was giving them water to drink and food to eat. And Moses came forth leading them. This certain sheep climbed to the top of a lofty rock. Then the sheep master sent him back to them. Afterward, I saw the sheep master standing before them. His appearance was so great, awesome, and majestic that all the sheep beheld him standing in awe before his face. Exodus 34:29 and 30. They all quaked in fear on account of him, and they cried to that certain sheep with them. Exodus 34:33. We cannot stand before our El, nor gaze at him. That certain sheep who led them went up again up to the rock, to the top of the rock, but the sheep were losing their vision and wandering off the pathway he had shown them, though that certain sheep did not know it. So that certain sheep, which was Moses, he did not know that the Israelites started to wander off the path. So when it said their eyes were open, they acknowledged the power of the Most High. But when it said they started losing their vision and wandering off the pathway, they stopped acknowledging the power of the Most High. Verse 32, the sheep master was greatly angered against them, and that certain sheep, Moses, learned of it. He descended from the summit of the rock and came to the sheep. There he found most of them sightless and fallen away. Joshua 82:15, Exodus 32:15 and 19. What had happened? They started worshiping the calf and stuff. When they saw him, they were horrified, and they quaked at his presence. They wanted to return to their foes. That certain sheep took other sheep with him and came to those fallen sheep and began to slay them. These sheep feared his presence, and since that certain sheep brought back those other who had fallen, they returned to their foes. This was Exodus 32:20-28, Joshua 82:19-20. Y'all remember when Moses took the man to go through the camp, killing all them wicked men? In this vision, I watched until that certain sheep, Moses, became a man. So now he stopped acting beastly, and he started getting knowledge. He started having knowledge. He built a house for the sheep master and put all the sheep in that house. Joshua 82:30, 83:7, Exodus 36, the tabernacle. I watched the leaders of the sheep who knew that certain sheep fallen asleep. Yes, I watched until all the great sheep died off, and the little ones arose in their place until they all came to pasture near a stream. Joshua 83:41, 42, 86:5, Numbers 14:29. Then that certain sheep, Moses, their leader, who had become man, left them and fell asleep. All the sheep went out after him and wept over him with a great wailing. Joshua 87, 8-11, Deuteronomy 34 and 8. So now we know that those sheep, they could not leave the wilderness. That was their curse. I watched until the lamented sheep had crossed the stream. Then there arose two sheep. Joshua and Caleb, for leaders in the place of the former, those who had fallen asleep. Deuteronomy 34 and 9, Joshua 1 and 4, Numbers 14 and 30. I watched until the sheep came to a good place, an agreeable and wonderful country. And I watched until the sheep were satisfied in the house that stood in their midst, there in that pleasant country. Joshua 88:18, Joshua 1 and 15. That's when they got the promised land. 39. Sometimes their eyes were open, other times they were shut, until another sheep, Samuel, arose to lead them. He brought them all back, and their eyes were open. 1 Samuel 7, 3 and 6. But dogs, foxes, and wild hogs began to devour those sheep until the sheep master raised a ram, which was Saul, from their number who led them. 1 Samuel 9, 16, 11, and 15. The ram, Saul, began to charge the flanks of the dogs. The dogs would be the Philistines. Foxes, which is the Jabesh Gilead, Jabesh Gilead, and hogs, Ammonites, until he had destroyed them all. And you can find this in 1 Samuel 11:11, 13 through to 4, 22, and 14:47. That sheep Samuel, whose eyes were open, watched the ram Saul among the sheep Israel until it abandoned its good repute and began to butt the other sheep, trampling them and conducting himself in a contrary manner. 1 Samuel 15:11, 23 and 9. Once again, Enoch is going through the whole story. Then the sheep master sent the sheep Samuel to yet another lamb, David, raising it to become a ram, even the herd's prince and leader, in the place of the previous ram, Saul, or forsaken reputation. 1 Samuel 16 and 13. This former Samuel approached and spoke to the other alone, David, raising it to be a ram, and made it the prince and leader of the sheep, Israel, as he was instructed. Yet during all this time, dogs, which is the Philistines, exploited the sheep. 1 Samuel 16, 1 and 12. The first ram of the lost reputation pursued the second ram, and the second arose and escaped. Then I watched until the dogs, the Philistines, dragged down the first ram. 1 Samuel 23, 7 and 8 and 13, 24, 1 and 2, 1 Samuel 27 and 1, 1 Samuel 31, 1 through 5. The second ram, which was David, arose and led the sheep, Israel. They grew and multiplied. Still, dogs, foxes, and wild hogs were afraid and fled out from before it. The ram butted and slew all the wild beasts until they no longer had any power over the little sheep. They stole from them no more. 2 Samuel 11 and 1, 12, 29, 1 Chronicles 18, 1 and 4. That ram, David, bore many sheep and fell asleep. A little sheep, Solomon, became a ram in its stead, even the sheep's prince and leader. 1 Chronicles 3, 1 through 9, 1 Chronicles 1, 13, 39, and 51. The house, temple, became greater and wider. It was built larger for so many sheep. A very high tower was constructed as an addition to the house. This was constructed for the sheep master. The house was quite low, but the tower was raised up very high. So the sheep master stood upon the tower while a fully laden table was brought for him. 1 Kings 6, 1 through 2, 9 and 11. Now we have the destruction of the great house. Then I watched those sheep, Israel, once again, they strayed into error, going many ways. They left their house, so the sheep master called on certain sheep, sending them forth to redress the rest. Yet these sheep began to slay the others. 2 Chronicles 21, 12 through 13, 2 Chronicles 33, 3 through 8, 34, and 24. However, one, Elijah, was not killed, but was rescued. It hurried away to cry out over the sheep. They wanted to kill it, but the sheep master rescued it from the rest and brought it up to me, causing it to live right there. 2 Kings 1, 9, and 11. So he was translated also. He sent many others to testify, to cry out over the sheep. 2 Kings 17 and 13. Afterward, I saw they had forsaken the sheep master's house. His tower fell completely away. Because of this, they all became blind. I watched the sheep master, how he caused a great slaughter in their herds. Such sheep invited it by betraying his house. 1 Kings 12, 17 through 20, 28, 14, 22, 2 Kings 3 and 3, 15, 30, 15, 29, 2 Kings 17, 13 through 17. So he gave them to lions, tigers, wolves, and hyenas, even to foxes and to all the wild beasts. Beasts tore the sheep to pieces. 2 Kings 6, 8, 24, 13, 20, 15, 29, 16, 5, 17, 20, 24, 18, 11, 20, 17, and 18. As I watched, he left their house and tower, giving them over to the lions that tore them to devour them, even to all the beasts. 2 Kings 21, 13 through 14, 24 and 2, 12 through 14, 25, 1 and 4, 10 through 11. So now you see the Most High is letting judgment come upon Israel. He has left the presence of Israel. He has given the house and the temple over to the Gentiles. 55. I started to cry out with all my might, appealing to the sheep master, interceding with him on the sheep's behalf, because they have been devoured by wild beasts. 2 Kings 21, 13 to 14, 24 and 2, 12, 14, 25, one I just pretty much just did. Yet he remained unmoved, even though he saw it happening. He was glad that they were robbed, swallowed, and devoured. So he left them to all such beasts to be consumed. Psalm 51 and 4, Proverbs 11 and 21, the Testament of Naphtali 2 and 8. Then he called 70 shepherds. He placed the sheep with them for pasturing before speaking with them and their companions. Let each one of you pasture these sheep from now on, and all I command of you do. Deuteronomy 4, 19 and 20, 32 and 8, the Septuagint. Ecclesiasticus 17 and 17, and Jasher 9 and 32. So these could be, I think these were just, let me look at Jasher 9 and 32 real fast. Let's see what I got there for that. Jasher 9 and 32. And God said to the 70 angels who stood foremost before him, to those who were near him, saying, come, let us descend and confuse their tongues, that one man shall not understand the language of his neighbors. And they did so unto them. Okay, so we got the 70 angels there. Let's see what else I have there. 32 8 Septuagint. Deuteronomy 32 and 8 Septuagint. Well, I have the Septuagint right here with me, so let me try to read it real fast. Deuteronomy 32 and 8. Let me go to me just in case y'all think that I'm making this up. Okay, I got the Septuagint right here. Deuteronomy 32 and 8. Deuteronomy 32 and 8. 32 and 8. Let's just see what it says. When the Most High divided the nations, when he had separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the nations according to the number of the angels of God, which was 70. So now I believe I have that right there being the 70 angels. But it could be, let me hold on. Let me look at Ecclesiasticus 17. Because it could be, I don't know if it was, I know there were 70 elders also inside of Israel. But I don't know if there were 70 judges or 70 kings. I'm not sure. Let me see if I can. Let me just look at Ecclesiasticus real fast. For in the divisions of the nations of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people. Okay, that's it right there, yeah. For in the division of the nations of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people, but Israel is the Lord's portion. So once again, this 70. So that's why I got this 70 right there. I got the angels, but let's see. He called 70 shepherds. That might be the 70 elders, but I don't know if it's that he placed the sheep with them for. He placed the sheep with them for pasturing before speaking with them and their companions. Let each one of you pasture those sheep from now on, and all a command of you do. I this is why I said it's the angels. Verse 58, I will deliver them over to you in numbers correctly counted. I will tell you which are to be destroyed, and you will destroy them. So he gave the sheep over to the shepherds. Deuteronomy 23:24, Jeremiah 23:1-2. Let's see what Deuteronomy 23:24 says. Deuteronomy 23:24. When thou comest into thy neighbor's vineyard, then thou mayest eat its grapes till thou fill at thy own pleasure, but thou shalt not put in any vessel. I don't know why I would put, let's see here. Jeremiah 23:1-2. I'm trying to find out why I would put that there. Jeremiah 23:1-2. Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, says the Lord. Therefore, thus says the Lord God of Israel, against the pastors that feed my people. Ye have scattered my flock and driven them away, and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doing, said the Lord God. Okay, and I think Jeremiah went back to Deuteronomy when I looked up the reference. So, we have the pastors not doing right by the sheep. I will deliver them up, and we also have the angels that's going, which they're controlling what's going on in the spiritual realm, and you see that being displayed in the earthly realm by the pastors not dealing with the sheep correctly, or the people of Israel. Then he called another and spoke to him, watch, make note of everything the shepherds do to the sheep. They will slay more than I have commanded. Isaiah 33:1. Sorry, y'all, I got to look up some of these verses. See why I picked some of these. Isaiah 33:1. Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou wast not spoiled, and dealt treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. While when thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled. And when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, thou shalt deal treacherously with thee. Well, we can see that they was dealing with the people treacherously because they was killing more than the Most High commanded them to kill. Okay, regarding every excess killing done by the shepherds, record the number killed on my command plus the number they killed by whim. Record the destruction caused by each shepherd. Psalms 103:20. Then read out to me the number they killed and the number they delivered over for execution, so I may record as evidence against them. I must know each action of the shepherds, so I may identify each and understand what they do, whether or not they obey my orders. Jeremiah 25:14. So we see that the Most High here, he has a precise record of the wrongdoings and the right doings of everyone. He has the best record keepers in the whole world. They don't get tired. They can follow you. You cannot see them. They know everything you're doing. The best record keepers on the planet. 62. They are not to know of this. You will not tell them nor accuse them. Only record each destructive act against each individual shepherd, each in his own time. then lay it out, then lay it all out for me. I watched until the shepherds pastured in their season. They started to kill, destroying more than were ordered, transporting sheep over to lions. Jeremiah 40:1, 52, 28 through 30. Lions and tigers. Hold on, let's go there real fast. Jeremiah 40:1. Let's see what's going on. Jeremiah 40:1. The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord after that Nebuzaradan. What's it? Nebuzaradan. Yeah. Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, had let him go from Ramah when he had taken him, being bound into chains among all that were carried away captive of Jerusalem and Judah, which were carried away captive into Babylon. So we have the lions and tigers coming over and transporting the sheep. And then 52, 28 to 30. This is the people who Nebuchadnezzar carried away captive in the 7th year, 3,000 Jews and 3 and 20. In the 18th year, Nebuchadnezzar, he carried away captive from Jerusalem 832 persons. And in 3 and 20th year of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carried away captive of the Jews 745 persons. All of the persons were 4,600. So we see a lot of people being carried captive, a lot of Israel being carried captive. So I watched until the shepherds pastured in their season. They started to kill, destroying more than ordered, transporting sheep over to lions. Lions and tigers ate and consumed the better part of the sheep, and the wild hogs ate right after with them. They even burned the tower down after tearing up the house. So this gives you a great starting point, because right here, we got it kind of got iffy, But now we see that we are in Jeremiah now. We are in Jeremiah where they were taking the Israelites captive. But not only that, they burnt the tower down and tore up the house. So Jeremiah 23:39. This Jeremiah 23:39. Therefore, behold, I will utterly forget you. I will forsake you, and the city that I gave you and your fathers, and cast you out of my presence. So he was saying that he was going to forsake them and forget them and the city. And then 24:1 and 5. And the Lord showed me 2 baskets, carpenter, smith, and them. Thus said the Lord, the God of Israel, likewise, these good figs, so I will acknowledge them that are carried away captive of Judah, have sent them out of this place into the land of the Chaldeans for their good. I want to see some destructions of some temples, though. 5, 8, and 9. I will deliver them up to be removed into all of the kingdoms of the earth for their hurt, to be a reproach and a proverb, a taunt and a curse in all places, whether I drive them. Okay, we need to see some destruction, though. I want to see some destruction. Because in Enoch, we're saying destruction. Okay. So I became very, very upset over the destruction of the tower, because the entire house of the sheep was demolished. Afterwards, I was not able to observe whether any sheep came into the ruin. 52, 12, and 13. Sorry, I'm trying to find some of this destruction. Here we go. Now it was the 5th month and the 10th day of the month, which was the 19th year of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar, whatever, king of Babylon, came. I already read it anyway, and burnt the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and the houses of Jerusalem, and all the houses of the great man burnt he with fire. So you got Nebuchadnezzar and Nebuzaradan all coming in, which was the captains and the guards of Babylon, and the king into Jerusalem, burning the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and the houses of Jerusalem, and the houses of great men, and burnt them with fire, and all the army of the Chaldeans that were with the captain of the guards break down the walls of Jerusalem round about. And he carried away captive certain of the poor people and the residue of the people that remained in the city, and those that fell away, that fell to the king of Babylon, and the rest of the multitude. So, finally, we was able to find some destruction. So this is where we are at in the book of Enoch. So now, I became very, very upset over the destruction of the tower, because the entire house of the sheep was demolished. Afterward, I was not able to observe whether any sheep came into the room. So, now, let's keep going. The shepherds and their herdsmen delivered all the sheep over to the wild beasts so they might be consumed. Each received a certain number in his time. The number each destroyed was recorded in the book. For each destroyed man more than was permitted. 2 Chronicles 36, 17 through 19. I started, and so it seems like that these shepherds and herdsmen were the people that the Most High was sending against Israel. That's what it seems like. But anyway, I started again to weep, grieving for the sheep. We can find this in Lamentations. In the vision I saw the scribe. I saw exactly how he recorded every single one destroyed by the shepherds every day. He carried it up and set it down, showing the entire book to the sheep master, containing everything the shepherds had done, all that each had given over to destruction. You see how the Most High has these spirits coming down, watching over mankind and delivering. That's how his eyes are everywhere. His workers are everywhere. They was recording everything that man was doing. Look, the book was read before the sheep master. Then he took the book in his hand, read it, sealed it up, and laid it down. He sealed it up. Why? Because when it was time to break some of those seals, this when vengeance was going to come. Then he had the records on why he had to destroy everybody. Verse 7. Right away I saw how the shepherds pastured for 12 hours, and I witnessed 3 sheep. I got Ezra, Haggai, and Zechariah turning back. They entered into the ruin of the house. It's supposed to be they entered into the ruin of the house and starting rebuilding all that had fallen down. So this is the rebuilding of Jerusalem and the temple. So this happened during the periods of Ezra, Haggai, and Zechariah. The wild hogs tried to hinder them, but were not able. Now, who was the wild hogs trying to hinder them? This would be the Samaritans, who was not really the northern kingdom. We got Ezra's 1, 2 through 3, 5 and 6, 3 and 8, 4, 1 through 5, 7 and 12, 7 through 12, 23 through 24, Ezra's 5, 1 through 2, 5, 6, 11 through 15. So they start building as before, even raising up the tower. It was named the High Tower. Again, they placed the table in front of thee, but all the bread on it was polluted and impure. Ezra's 9 and 1, Nehemiah 13 and 15. Yet the sheep's eyes were blinded to these things. They could not see. So they were handed over in large numbers to their shepherds for destruction. They trampled upon the sheep and gobbled them down. So you got Daniel 7 explaining all of that. The sheep master was firm in his resolve. All the sheep were dispersed over the field and mingled with the beast there. The sheep did not rescue them from the beast. The recorder carried the book up, showing it to the sheep master, reading it before him. He implored the sheep master for them, and seeking his favor as he reported all the shepherds' action. He testified before him against all the shepherds. Daniel 7 and 10. Then he took the book, placed it beside the sheep master, and departed. So now we got 1 Enoch 90, 1 to 5. From 426 to 416 to 265, 255 BC. Then I watched until 35 shepherds undertook the pasturing of the sheep, and they each finished their terms as the first. Others then received them unto their power, pasturing them for their terms, each shepherd with his own term. After that, I saw in my vision all the birds approaching. What is birds known for? Quickly moving. Their quickness. Birds are all known for quickness. Wings are known for quickness. So all of these animals had wings, quickness. After that, I saw in my vision all the birds approaching. Eagles, vultures, kites, crows. But the eagles, which is Chittim, led them. They began to devour those sheep, picking out their eyes, eating their bodies. 1 Maccabees 1 and 1. The sheep cried out as their bodies were being eaten by the birds. So this is during the Grecian period. As for me, in my sleep, I watched and breathed over the shepherd who pastured the sheep. 1 Maccabees 4:10 through 14, 5 and 2. I watched until the sheep were devoured by the dogs, eagles, kites, and they left neither meat, skin, nor tendon on them. Only their bones stood out. Even their bones fell to the ground. The sheep were few. 1 Maccabees 5:12 and 13. I watched until 23 had attempted pasturing the sheep, completing their terms 58 times. I'll put for 58 seasons. Conviction of the shepherds and the blind sheep. 14 through 18 missing. But Enoch, lambs were born to the white sheep. They began to open their eyes and to cry to the sheep. Oh yes, they cried to them, but they did not heed what they said to them. They were profoundly deaf, their eyes exceptionally blind. I saw in the vision how the crows flew upon those lambs, taking one of them, then dashing the sheep to pieces and eating them up. I watched until the lambs grew horns. The crows tossed down their horns. I watched until a great horn, Judas Maccabees, pushed out from one of the sheep, and their eyes were all open. It looked over them all, crying out to the sheep, and all the rams saw it and ran to it. All the same, the eagles, vultures, crows, and kites continued tearing the sheep, swooping down on them to eat them. Still the sheep kept quiet, but the rams grieved and cried out. The crows battled against the horned sheep and tried to break it off, its horn, but they had no power over it. All the eagles, vultures, crows, and kites were gathered together. With all them came all the sheep in the field. Oh yes, they all came together to help one another break the horn off the ram. 1 Maccabees 9 and 6. Then I watched until a huge sword was given to the sheep, and the sheep went against all the beasts of the field to destroy them. The birds and beasts took off before them. I saw the book writer, the one commanded by Apple, as he opened the book detailing all the destruction the last 12 shepherds had caused. He showed the sheep master that they destroyed far more than their predecessors. I watched until the sheep master came to them and took the rod of his anger in his hand. He struck the ground, and the ground broke into pieces. All birds and beasts among the sheep fell to the ground. The ground swallowed them up and covered them all. Revelation 6 and 4, 1 Maccabees 9 and 13. During a battle in 160 BC, when 800 Jewish patriarchs was confronted by 22,000 Syrian fighters, it was reported that the ground shook from the noise when the two armies met, and they fought from morning until evening. The author of Maccabees attributes this phenomenon to trumpet blasts implemented by both armies. In addition, a, a paleoseismic study of the Sarga Fault, Syrian-Lebanese border, and historical texts provide evidence of an earthquake in Antioch that triggered a tsunami between Tyre and Ptolemy's during the same time period, mid-2nd century BC. As a result, a city above Sidon collapsed into the sea, and nearly two-thirds of Sidon itself was engulfed, which they are attributing to Revelations 19:15-19. I watched until a throne was built in the pleasant land, and the sheep master seated thereon, and the other took the sealed books and opened them before him. Revelations 20:12. The sheep master called the first 7 white sheep, commanded them to bring all the stars whose member was like that of horses before him, beginning with the first star that led the way. So they brought all the stars before him. Revelation 20:14. He said to the recorder before him, one of the 7 white ones took those 70 shepherds to whom I delivered the sheep, those who took it upon themselves to slay more than I commanded them. In Hanak, the 70 were bound up. I watched while they all stood before him. Court was held over the stars first. They were judged and found guilty. Then they were sent off to the place of conviction and cast into a pit full of a fiery flame with the pillars of fire. Revelation 20:10. The 70 shepherds were judged guilty. They too were cast into the fiery pit, Gehenna. Revelation 20:10. I saw how the pit was opened to the earth's center. It was full of fire. Next they brought the blinded sheep. They were all judged guilty and cast into the fiery pit. They all burned up. Now this pit was just to the right of the house. Revelation 20:15. So I watched those sheep, even their bones burning. I stood up to watch until they folded up the old house. They carried off all the pillars, all the beams, and supplies of the house were folded up with them. They carried it all off and laid it in the south land. So this is when the temple was being destroyed. I watched until the sheep master brought a new house greater and loftier than the first, and he set it up in place of the first, the one that had been folded up. All of its pillars were new. Its supplies were new and larger, and those of the old one he had taken away. All the sheep were inside. Revelation 21:1-5, Hebrews 13:14. I saw the remainder of the sheep, along with all the beasts on the ground and the birds in the sky, falling down and paying homage to the sheep within the house, pleading with them and obeying them in every matter. Revelation 21:7. Afterward, the 3 white-robed ones who had seized me by my hand with the hand of the ram also seized me, took me and set me down among the sheep before their judgment. Those sheep were all white. Their wool was massive and clean. Revelation 7:9. All that had been destroyed and dispersed, all the beasts of the field and all the sky birds congregated in that house. Revelation 21:4, Isaiah 14:2, 66:12. The sheep master greatly rejoiced because they were all good and had returned to his house. I watched until the sheep laid down the sword given to them, for they brought it into the house, and it was there sealed up in the presence of the sheep master, and the sheep invited in, so it no longer harmed them. Revelation 21:5. For their eyes were all open; they saw the good, and there was not one among them that could not see. Revelation 21:7. I noticed that the house was great, wide, broad, and full. I saw a white bull with large horns born. So now, I want y'all to understand. See, what Enoch did was he put the judgment around the Maccabean era, which a lot of people in the first century, as well as some before that BC era, they put the judgment, the Great White Throne Judgment, in the Maccabean era. But Let's keep reading and see what happens afterwards. I saw a white bull with large horns born. All the beasts of the earth and birds of the sky were afraid of him and persistently pleaded with him. I got Luke 7:28. Now this might throw y'all for a loop. Luke 7:28. For I say unto you, among those that are born of women, there was not a greater prophet than John the Baptist, but he that is least in the kingdom of God is greater than he. So we got John the Baptist, the greatest prophet ever born. I saw a white bull with large horns born. All the beasts of the earth and birds of the sky were afraid of him and persistently pleaded with him. Luke 7:28. See, a lot of people will think that this is Christ. But let's keep reading. I watched while all their generations was transformed into white bulls. The first of them became a lamb. Then a great creature with big black horns. The sheep master rejoiced over it and over all the livestock. Luke 2:11, 3:17. So we have John the Baptist born, and then we have Christ. The first of them became a lamb. There was then a great creature with big horns. The sheep master rejoiced over it. That great creature with big horns. I slept in their midst. When I awoke, I saw everything. This is the vision that I saw while I slept. I awoke and blessed the sovereign of obedience and honored him. Then I wept with a great howling. My tears would not stop until I could stand it no longer. I noticed that they were flowing because of all I have seen. For all these things will happen exactly as these histories were shown me. So now, where did Enoch? On that night I remembered the first dream. Because of it, I wept and was very troubled, all because I had seen such a dream vision. So where did Enoch stop his vision? Where did Enoch stop his vision and it was over? During the same generation that John the Baptist, or you could say Christ, lived. It says, I watched all their generations. So now look, I saw a white bull with large horns born. All the beasts of the earth and the birds were afraid of him and persistently pleaded with him. I watched while all their generations was transformed into white bulls. Well, you got the beasts of the earth and birds of the sky. So they was transformed into white bulls. The first of them became a lamb. Then a great creature with big horns. The sheep master rejoiced over it and over all the livestock. So this stops during the generation of Christ. They have the great white throne judgment no later than the generation of Christ. Once again, the book of Enoch has the great white throne judgment no later than the generation of Christ. You see, life wasn't supposed to stop at the generation of Christ. No, the Bible was supposed to be concluded by the ending of the generation of Christ. You see, that's why once we go into scriptures now, let's go into scripture, then I want to show y'all one more thing. That's why when you go into scriptures, this is exactly what you have. Matthew 24. Matthew 24. It says, see ye not all these things, verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And he said, upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? What shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? But right here, they have signs of the end of the age. And once you go into the word study of the Greek, you have aeon, which is properly an age. So what will be the sign of the end of the aeons? Not the end of the cosmos. So now, and look what he says. He says all of these things are supposed to happen. But this is what I want to get at. The coming of the Son of Man. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give off her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. Then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. That's his second coming right there. He's supposed to come with power and great glory to judge all mankind. So what happens after that? Verse 34. Verily I say unto you, he's talking to the disciples, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. So let's look up generation real fast. This generation, by implication, an age, period, or person. Age, generation, nation, or time. So, age, this age to all be fulfilled. To cause to be. To cause to be. Arise, be assembled. Come, fall. Be brought, continue, be divided, be done. Draw, be ended. Fall, be finished. Follow, be found, be fulfilled, grow, God forbid, happen, have, be kept, be made, be married, be ordained to be partake, past, be performed, be published, be showed. So, hopefully we understand what fulfilled means now. So, Christ told them that the judgment could not go further past his generation. The book of Enoch says the judgment cannot go past Christ's generation. So once again, Enoch says the judgment can't go past Christ's generation. The Bible says the judgment cannot go past Christ's generation. So what did Enoch give? And then I'll be done. There was Enoch's animal apocalypse. Enoch also did a 10 weeks prophecy breakdown before the end. So Enoch XC 111, whatever that is. It says, and after Enoch both gave and began to recount from the books. So he's going back, recounting from the books. See, a lot of people don't know Enoch had real prophecies in it. So let's go through the prophecies of Enoch. And Enoch said concerning the children of righteousness, and concerning the elect of the world, and concerning the plant of unrighteousness, I will speak these things. Yea, I, Enoch, will declare unto you, my sons, according to that which appeared to me in the heavenly vision. So he's going to break down the heavenly vision a little bit more. In which I have known through the word of the holy angels, and have learned from the heavenly tablets. And Enoch was born, began to recount from the books, and said, I was born the 7th in the 1st week. There was 622 years since creation started. Genesis 5:18. So he was born in the 1st week. Once again, this is a 10 weeks prophecy. While judgment and righteousness still endure. And after me, there shall arise in the 2nd week great wickedness, 1,657 years after creation. And deceit shall have sprung up. And in it there shall be the first end. And in it a man shall be saved, which was Noah. And after it ended, unrighteousness shall grow up. And a law shall be made for the sinners, which they call the Noahide laws. Genesis 8:13. And after that, in the third week, as it closes, a man, Abraham, shall be elected as a plant of righteous judgment, and his posterity shall become the plant of righteousness forevermore. Genesis 11:26, 1,946 years. And after that, in the fourth week, once again, it's only 10 weeks, at its close, visions of the holy and the righteous shall be seen, and a law of Moses, for all generations, and the enclosure shall be made for them. Exodus 34:28-29. That's year 2,475. Yes, I calculated these up. And after that, in the fifth week, as it closes, the house of glory, temple, and dominion shall be built forever. So now we have the temple being built in the fifth week. 1 Kings 5:9, 3,115 years. And after that, in the sixth week, all who lived in it shall be blinded, and the hearts of all of them shall godlessly forsake wisdom. And in it a man shall ascend. This will be Elijah. And as it closed, the house of dominion shall be burnt with fire, and the race of the chosen root shall be dispersed. 2 Kings 2:1, 2 Kings 25:9. That's week 6. Elijah came week 6. And after that, in the seventh week, shall an apostate generation arise, and many shall be its deeds, and all its deeds shall be apostate. Ezekiel 3:7-13-3. This was getting them ready for the Babylonian captivity. As it closed, shall be elected the elect righteous of the eternal plant of righteousness, and as it and at its close shall be elected the elect righteousness, the elect righteous of the eternal plant of righteousness, to receive sevenfold instruction concerning all creation. For who is there of all children of men that is able to hear the voice of the Holy One without being troubled? And who can think his thoughts? And who was there that can behold all the works of heaven? And how should there be one who could behold the heaven? And who was there that could understand the things of heaven, and see a soul or a spirit, and could tell thereof, or ascend and see all their ends, and think them or do like them? And who is there of all men who could know what is the breadth and length of the earth, and to whom has been shown the measure of them all? Or is there anyone who can discern the length of the heaven, and how great its heights, and upon what is founded, and how great the number of the stars, and where all the luminaries rest? Okay, so now, and after that there shall be another, the eighth week, that of righteousness. And the sword shall be given to that a righteous judgment may be executed on the oppressors. This is the Maccabean revolt. And all the sinners shall be delivered into the hands of the righteous. And at its close they shall acquire houses through their righteousness. And the house shall be built for the great king in glory forevermore. And all mankind shall look to the path of uprightness. So we got First Maccabees 4. And see now it says a house shall be built for the great king in glory forevermore. Let me look at First Maccabees 4 real fast. Let's see why I put that there. First Maccabees 4. Okay, so we got the destruction. Hold on, y'all. Okay, bet. Okay, so now let me read some of this in First Maccabees 4, just in case. I was wondering. Okay, so now First Maccabees chapter 4, and I'm going to start reading at so I was just there. 40. I think it's 4. Hold on. Yeah, 40. And fell down flat to the ground upon their faces and blew an alarm with the trumpets and cried toward heaven. So this is after the fighting and all that. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had been pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bare out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profane, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it. Wherefore they pulled it down, and laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show what shall be done with them. Then they took whole stones according to the law, and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary and the things which were within the temple, and hollowed the courts, and made also new holy vessels. And into the temple they brought the candlestick, and the altar of burnt offerings, and of incense, and the table. And upon the altar they burned incense and lamps that were upon the candlesticks they lighted, and they might give lights in the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. So there you have it. Them building the new temple, them building the new sanctuary, them setting the sanctuary up, and etc. in First Maccabees 4. Okay, so now. And after that, in the 9th week, the righteous judgment shall be revealed to the world, Christ. And all works of the godless shall vanish from all the earth, and the world shall be written down for destruction. Matthew 1:21, Matthew 24, Mark 13, Luke 21, John 3:16, 11:25, 14-6. And after this, in the 10th week, in the 7th part, so the 7th part of the 10th week, there shall be the great eternal judgment, in which he will execute vengeance amongst the angels. Luke 21:20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. For these be the days of vengeance, dealing with the destruction of the temple, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. So let's go to Daniel 7. Daniel 7 and 10. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. This had to be fulfilled by Luke 21:22. Did I quote that right? The judgment had to be set, and the books had to be opened by the time Luke 21:22 came about. Those days of vengeance, dealing with the destruction of the temple, All things which was written had to be fulfilled by that time. And this happened in Christ's generation. So Daniel 7 had to be fulfilled by this time. He doesn't say some. He said all things. Let's see if we can. I ain't looked that up yet. So let's make sure I ain't tripping. All, any, every, the whole, all manner of means always, anyone, daily, ever, every, one way, as many as, no, thing, thoroughly, whatsoever, whole, whosoever. So we have all, any, every, and the whole. So all things, anything, everything, the whole things, all things which are written had to be in the Torah. So hold on, let's look up written real fast. Let's look up written just in case. All things which are written, to grave, especially to write, to describe, writing. All things that are written, wrote down, will be fulfilled. All things which are written will be fulfilled. And then it has also figuratively to describe. So all things which are described may be fulfilled. All things which are written. So which one do we think he's saying? Do we think he's saying described or written? Is he saying all these things that I described will be fulfilled at this time? Well, he described a lot of stuff, including verse 27, his second coming. So that includes his second coming. And 2032, this generation shall not pass away till it all be fulfilled. So even if you say it's describing, it said that his second coming was also being described. So that had to be fulfilled his generation also. But the point is, because I'm saying it's written, which was the Torah and the Tanakh, and I showed you what was written. But the point is, this is just for the people who want to argue. And over here you see it says, quoted from Hosea 9:7, Daniel 9:26, Daniel 9:27. You see, they even going back to Daniel 9 and letting you know this is when this is going to be accomplished. Then you got Josephus, all things are written. These are no more, no less, as in Acts 3:21. The time of restitution of all things have been written, stand written, fulfilled, as in Luke 21:24. It says, that's not the same. That's interesting. Let's look up this. Let's look this up real fast. See, I never knew this, so let's look this up. Fulfilled, to make replete. That is to cram, level up, to furnish, to execute. All things written may be executed, may be crammed, may be leveled up, may be finished, a period or text, verified. It coincides with the prediction. All things will be replete, to cram. All things will be crammed, leveled up. But it said that is not the same word as in 32, which is it's not. So all things would be finished, would be completed. And all things would be caused to generate, that is, to become, coming into being, used with great latitude, literally for all things will be, let's see here, all things will be caused to be generated, to become, come into being. So all things, this generation will not pass away until all things pass away, till all come into being, till all cause to be, generate. These things shall not pass away till all be generated, to all come into being. It would not pass away to all. That's why they chose be fulfilled, to come into being. But I didn't know this was two different words for fulfilled there. I just thought it was interesting myself. But we see what it's saying. And I don't know why they put fulfilled as in Luke 21:24, because it was talking more than Luke 21:24. It said a whole lot of things. But Luke 21:24 is the effect of all this other stuff anyway. I just want to see what they got for here. What do they got here? Luke 21:27. Oh, they don't want to touch that subject. Yeah, okay, I see. Let's see here. Sorry, y'all. I'm just going on. Let's see what this said is. No, I don't know. I guess there. Look, I like what it says here. Coming in the cloud, metaphorically in great world crisis. So it lets you know that coming in the cloud was a metaphor for a world crisis, and it gives you examples. So there you have it, metaphorically. Let's see if we have anything else. No, that's when they try to separate it. We ain't gonna separate these. Well, sorry, y'all. Well, we see that these things are not supposed to happen after Christ's generation. Okay? And just like in the book of Enoch, sorry, I got off. Sometimes I do that trying to research. But in the book of Enoch, we see that vengeance was supposed to come Luke 21:22 and 32. That's why I got it right here in Revelation. So, and the first heaven shall depart away and pass away, and a new heaven shall appear, and all the powers of the heaven shall give sevenfold light. And after that, there will be many weeks without number forever. So after the seventh part in the 10th week, there are going to be many weeks without numbers forever, meaning it would never end. Okay, y'all? So the great eternal judgment happens at the 10th week, which according to Luke 21:22 deals around the destruction of the temple, which is Christ's generation. So now, the last kicker to put the icing on the cake, we're going to compare Enoch, first Enoch 1:9 with Jude 1:14 and 15. Well, you can do that on your own. But this is what's said in Enoch. And when their sons have slain one another, and they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones, bind them fast for 70 generations in the valley of the earth, till the day of their judgment and of their consummation. First Enoch 10:11-12. So their judgment, the judgment of the angels, is supposed to happen when? During the great white throne judgment. The consummation, their consummation, is supposed to happen with the consummation of the ages. Let's just look at it real fast, and then we'll be done. Daniel 9, which it told us earlier that the coming in the clouds and etc. was just an allusion to Daniel 9 and all that. But anyway, Daniel 9. Let's look up consummation, completion, completely, also destruction, determined, end, riddance. So the desolation, the completion, the destruction, riddance. So now, until the consummation, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abomination he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation and that determined shall be poured unto the desolate. Let's see if we have any people. Let's see if we have anything about the phrase the consummation from Isaiah 10. Okay, so I just want to look up consummation. I don't see nobody really talking about the consummation. Overspreading of desolation, poured upon the desolate. Nobody. Yeah, I don't think nobody actually touching up on. I like what he got here though. It says that Christ's ministry extended nearly 4 years, thus 30 AD, in our chronology was the time of Christ's death at the close of the age, and other weeks of years will be fulfilled in awful tribulation. So at least hold on. Okay, never mind. I thought it was saying something it wasn't saying. I often say at least they understand that that was going to be the close of the age. But anyway, nobody's hitting on the consummation, but the consummation is pretty much the completion. So of the completion, we got it right here. Till the day of judgment and of their completion or of their destruction. So now, there's only one day of judgment where the angels were supposed to be judged, okay? And that's the great white throne judgment, when everybody was supposed to be judged. So now, how long did he have? 70 generations in the valleys of the earth. Then the day of judgment and consummation was going to occur. So once you go to Luke 1:14 through to 27, once you look up the genealogy of Luke, Enoch, the 70 generations will start at Enoch. Enoch will be number 1. So once you start at Enoch, number 1, and you go down 70 generations, I'm gonna go through and show you slowly. In using Luke's account, you go through 70 generations. You end with Christ. So once again, we have Enoch saying it again that the great white throne judgment cannot go past Christ's generation. Once again, and then we have it right here to show you again. Starting at Christ, he will be the 77th generation, right? Going backwards. We start at Christ, we go backwards. Okay? When you get to 70, we start at 77 with Christ. Once you get to 7, there's 70 generations. Who are you stuck with? Enoch. Enoch. So 70 generations, starting with Enoch, according to Enoch, that's when the judgment of the angels and the consummation era was supposed to start. So, like I said, Enoch teaches that the judgment, the great white throne judgment, could not go farther than Christ's generation. Christ taught that the great white throne judgment could not go past his generation. Once again, Christ taught the great white throne judgment could not go past his generation. He taught the kingdom coming on earth could not go past his generation. He taught the battle of Armageddon could not go past his generation. Enoch taught that the great white throne judgment could not go past his generation. He taught the judgment and the consummation would actually occur in the generation of Christ. So this is just my first source. Every night I want to show a different Hebraic source. This is just my Enoch source. Oh yes, I got more sources also. So this is just my Enoch source. So, sorry, I don't want y'all to see that. This is my extra heat. But hopefully that proved or that showed that Enoch himself, sorry y'all, hopefully that showed that Enoch himself taught that things were supposed to get wrapped up by Christ's generation, that 70th generation. So now, let's see if I can book Enoch real fast. I know I said that was done, but it's one more, and then I swear I'm done. Also, just the last fact I want to drive in dealing with the book of Enoch. Let me see here. The book of Enoch. Let me find it real fast. I want to put it up on screen and show y'all what exactly what it's saying. Let's see if this works. Hold on. I don't want to go into the backstory of the book of Enoch. I want to start with the literature. Okay. Okay, so now. Okay. So. Okay. Let's see if it's on screen. Okay, here we go right here. It says, let me make sure I got it pulled up. Okay, these are the words, Enoch 1 and 1. The blessing of Enoch. These are the words of the blessing of Enoch, according to which he blessed the chosen and righteous, who must be present on the day of distress, which is appointed for the removal of all the wicked and impious. So, Enoch was supposed to be dedicated for the people that was living in the day of distress. So now you go to the Bible. Go to Luke. Let me make sure. 21. And it says, dealing with, y'all see them fleeing Jerusalem. They've running into the mountains. Why? These be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. Why? But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. Great distress and wrath in the land, and wrath upon this people. And in my book of Enoch that I have personally beside me, it says those living in the days of tribulation. This version of Enoch has those living in the days of distress. So I went to Luke 21 to show you that the days of distress dealt around with the destruction of the temple and Jerusalem being compassed with army. Now, if it would have had my other version that says the time of tribulation, I would have went to the parallel account of Luke 21, which is Matthew 24, speaking of the same exact events. But this is Matthew talking about it instead of Luke. So Matthew is using his type of words. Luke used his type of words. This is what Matthew said. Matthew says, Matthew 21, for then shall be great tribulation. So, my version says those living in the days of tribulation. Matthew 24 says this is when the great tribulation occurs. This version on the computer of Enoch says distress. So Luke, which is the parallel chapter to Matthew, says the land is in distress. So it's talking about the same time period. We can't get around it. Okay? But now let's read what happens. And Enoch began his story and said, because this was dedicated to those people living in the first century. Once again, Enoch was dedicated to the people living in the first century. That's why the great white throne judgment in Enoch doesn't go past the first century, because he let it be known that the first century was going to be the wrap-up. So we're reading a Bible who was created no later than the first century, telling about things that happened no later than the first century. Okay, but now let's keep reading and then we'll be done. The earth was singing that. Here we go right here. And behold, he comes with 10,000 holy ones to execute judgment upon them and to destroy the impious and to contend with all flesh concerning everything that the sinners and the impious have done and wrought against him. Y'all, this is judgment day, okay? In Enoch, this will be considered judgment day. And it says, and behold, he comes with 10,000 holy ones. Why? To execute judgment upon them and do what? To destroy the impious. And what else? To contend with all flesh. This is judgment day, concerning everything that the sinners and the impious have done wrought against him. So, this is Enoch talking about what is supposed to happen judgment day. Enoch 1 says this is for those people that was going to be living in the day of distress. So you cannot separate the people living in the day of distress from judgment day. These are the same periods. The people living in distress was going to be the ones that witnessed this judgment day. So now, once you go to the Bible, you go to Jude. And look what Jude says. And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, what these? What these? These are spots in your feast. Who is the year? Who is the year he's talking to? Jude, the servant of Jesus Christ and brother of James, to them that are sanctified by God. Mercy unto you. So Jude is talking to people that he knew, people that he interacted with. He's writing and talking to people that he knew and he interacted with that lived in his generation, which is the same generation of Christ. And look what it says right here. Judgment on false teachers. So now let's see what Jude tells those people that he knew that he's talking to. he told them about all of the false teachers. And what are those false teachers? They are spots in your feast. Who was the your? The people that Jude is writing to. False teachers are spots in your feast. There are raging waves of sea foaming out of their own shame. But look, and Enoch, also descended from Adam, prophesied of these false teachers. Enoch prophesied of those false teachers that Jude was speaking of that lived in his generation. Once again, Enoch prophesied of those false teachers that Jude was addressing that lived in his generation, saying, look what he said, Enoch said, behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000 of his saints to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. So Jude said that these were the false teachers in his days that Enoch prophesied this judgment about. So, once again, Enoch's judgment does not go past the first century. It does not go past Christ's generation. Christ and Jude lived in the same generation. So, Enoch prophesied that the destruction, that the great judgment, when the angels came to plead with mankind, was going to occur during the generation of those living in distress. Jude let it be known that Enoch prophesied of the times that he lived in. So, Enoch doesn't go past the first century dealing with the prophesied judgment. So I am done. I have proven that Enoch prophesied several times and made several statements on how judgment was supposed to occur by a specific generation, and through going through the scriptures of the canonical gospel, we see that generation is the generation of Christ. It is the 70th generation from Enoch, which was the generation of Christ. So we have it there. I am done. Thank you all for listening. I hope that this saves. Once again, thank you all for listening. This is Evan Israel. 2 hours and 30 minutes on a work night. Lord have mercy. But I hope that this makes sense. I hope y'all understood why I go into these other Hebrew literature books also, because they're valid information and they themselves support full preterists. It supports the end time coming in the first century. So when people want to have a full preterist conversation and they only stick in the 66 books, you will never see my point of view, because you haven't went into all of the other Hebraic documents to show you that everybody taught, not just Christ, not just the disciples, not just John the Baptist, not just the prophets, but everybody taught that that great white throne judgment was going to happen in the generation of the Messiah. Everybody taught it. So it's people in today's time in America, foreign from the Hebraic understanding, foreign from all things pertaining to the literature that we had, that embraces Western tradition and the information that has been handed down to us their whole life and they don't want to give it up. It's time to understand that we have been taught something the Bible nor any other Hebraic documents ever taught. So, hopefully that makes sense. Thank you all for listening in. And tomorrow and the rest of the week, I will have more. I think tomorrow I'm going to go through Second Esdras. I'm going to go through Second Esdras and do a complete breakdown of Second Esdras, also dealing with when they said the time of the end was supposed to occur. So, and all the great white throne judgment. So, shalom, shalom. Thank you all for listening. Love you all. Have a great night.